Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been forever since I have been recording sitting at my desk. And the setup that I have at my desk is so much different, and it shows because I just went to record this episode and did the whole thing without pressing start. And that's what I get for not being home and using the equipment that I have, because then I forget how to use everything, I guess. But I have been so busy this summer traveling. I have been to upstate New York to visit my family for like 3 weeks this summer. I've been to Charlotte, I've been to Scotland, I've been all over the place. So I haven't been home a lot. Clearly, using this mic is foreign to me, I guess. I am home for the next 2 weeks, which feels like forever. It literally feels like forever to be home for 2 weeks, and I know that's not a lot of time for a lot of people, but I am excited to be home and to be recording this and just get some content out while I am in, the home field advantage. Okay, today's episode is all about, is your ego blocking your confidence? And I'm going to assume people have a baseline understanding of ego, but I'll give a brief overview of how it relates here, which is our ego is really just our sense of self. We can have a healthy ego, which is very helpful to us, or when it can be imbalanced. And when that happens, we tend to become concerned with how we are being perceived, how others see us. If we're living up to the self-image, we become very critical if we're not living up to our self-image. And we just get into a bit of some wonky behaviors, which is in direct opposition to confidence. If you are constantly worried what other people think about you, if you are trying to control how you're perceived, if you are shaming yourself as a result of an imbalanced ego, you're not confident. You're not in your confidence. And so I want to talk about today how your ego might be blocking your confidence. On one side of the coin, when our ego is imbalanced, what will happen is that we try and control how we're perceived. I've seen so much of this coming up more and more lately. And I thought, you know what? I just have to make an episode on it so that people can really check themselves. And I want you to be so honest with yourself listening to this episode. So let me talk about it a little bit. I have been seeing lately how people, and this will happen naturally more to me because I'm a confidence coach. So people are constantly talking to me about their confidence. But people will preface a lot of what they want to talk about with me with the statement of, I'm already confident. Then they'll go on to say their problems. And it's always very interesting to me that people feel the need to start with that. So I'll hear something like, well, I'm actually already really confident, but I find that my confidence wavers, and then part of me worries that I am not going to hit my goal. Or I'll hear something like, I'm actually really good. I'm confident. Like, I don't really need any confidence help, but I really struggle with my self-image. Or I'll hear something like, I'm really confident already. And I just like have this part of me who just does not think that I can do it. Like when I say it, I don't know if you're listening to this and it sounds kind of funny, but when people say this all the time, and I've even told some of my clients that, and they've been like, oh shit, yeah, no, I do that. Do you? I definitely do that. The thing that I want to probe here, if you've done that, or if you might have, it doesn't matter, but what is it that made you feel like you have to preface that you were confident? Do you feel the need to prove it? Right? Or people will be like, I'm super emotionally intelligent, but then say something else. Or like, I'm super this, but then say something that's against that. Versus just saying something like, I find my confidence wavers and part of me worries I'm not going to hit my goals. Prefacing it with, I'm already confident, and just saying what you're struggling with is the exact same message. You're really trying to convey the same thing, but the words you use to convey that message are like, they're going to be very interesting. In the first one where you're prefacing, you're very likely operating from a bit of ego, from some shadows, from trying to prove yourself. In the second one, you're just really, if you're just saying, I find my confidence wavers, you're just stating what's going on. And the reason people do this is because they think saying it with the prefacing makes them seem more confident, and it doesn't. It actually makes you seem more insecure and operating from ego. Because what is happening when people try and preface with, well, I'm super emotionally intelligent, but, or I'm already confident, but like when you do with that, you're just trying to make sure that if you're talking to me or whoever you're talking to, you are trying to control how they perceive you. You're trying to make sure that you are seen in a certain light rather than just existing that way. Or I've seen it in my free mini course, which you can grab in these show notes. I talk about how one of the biggest things, the behaviors that I see block women from getting further is the tendency to be quick to quit. And what I mean by that is not just you're always throwing in the towel, but when you're lacking belief and facing resistance, you'll pull back, you'll give up a little bit, you'll not go all the way in, you'll settle for less, you'll say it's just good enough. Like there's a whole bunch of behaviors. Just go grab the mini course if you're interested in that. And I went on and I shared all the ways that I've been super quick to quit in my life, and I didn't have any problem with it just because it doesn't bring me shame. Like it is what it is. When people were talking back to me, they were saying things like, "No, I'm not quick to quit. I actually don't resonate with that at all, but I do pull back after like a week if I haven't hit my goal." And I I told that person, was like, "Yeah, that is being quick to quit." But it's interesting that people have to preface with like, "No, that's not me. No, I do not resonate with that." Then deny the experience just to go on and say they experience it. And here's the example that I wanna give you. I'm gonna pretend to be 2 different people, and I want you to assess which one feels more powerful and which person do you connect to more. So person 1 will say this, No, like, I don't struggle with disliking my body. I'm really good with my body, but sometimes I do get really critical or unhappy or just, like, mad with where I'm at and feel like I wanna have a different body." That's person 1. Person 2 might be like, "Yeah, I totally relate to that. I find that I get overly critical if I've eaten a meal my body doesn't agree with, and then I get bloated, or the week before my period, I always think that I've gained weight, and I kinda freak out about that, but then I realize it's just my period, so I totally get what you're saying." You will connect with the second person, and the reason is because they're being authentic. They're not operating from ego. They're not trying to hide or protect their self-image, which cuts off connection, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. They're not fearing being judged, they're just being themselves and owning it. Whereas person 1 is being a little defensive, they're in a bit of denial, and they're fully operating from trying to protect their self-image. The thing is that when you are trying to protect your self-image, you are portraying a version that, at least in this moment in time, does not exist or doesn't fully exist. People see through that eventually, or your energy is off, and people feel that. So you cannot possibly have as much connection with people as you'd want to have because of it. Versus the second person, they're being authentic, they're being vulnerable, they're being themselves, and you can connect to that experience more. I see this all the time with female founders in business where they're putting on a facade because they're wanting to protect their self-image. And when we have a confidence block, what can sometimes happen is we instead start to act from a place of self-protection rather than self-belief. And when you're doing that with, especially if you are the face of your business, if you are trying to make sure that your audience perceives you as confident or perceives you as super successful or perceives you as this and that, you end up expending a lot of energy trying to maintain that facade and being really worried that people will see through it, when you should have absolutely just spent all of that energy building yourself to be more confident or successful or whatever it is. That's where people really go wrong. When you are just yourself, when you own your human experience, when you own like, yeah, I struggle with this. Yeah, that's going on. Yeah, like I'm here right now, but I really want to be here. People feel so much more connected to you. You actually seem so much more confident because of it. Through coaching, I've coached a lot of women over the past 3-4 years. Another statement I'll see is like, I just don't struggle with that anymore. Like, that's not me anymore. There's a difference between, I think, showing up and being like, oh yeah, like I really used to struggle with that, versus like, I'm not distancing yourself from it and being like, that's not me anymore. Like, I will say this, I say this to my clients, I'm still the doubtful girl that I was. She's still in me. I didn't just like permanently delete her. And it's so interesting when people act like they've permanently deleted part of themselves. They're still there. If I stop doing all the work that I do, all the confidence process and all the science and psychology and strategies, actual strategies that I teach inside of Unlimited to really master confidence, my confidence it would start wavering. It doesn't waver because I practice these things. But it's not like I'm just not someone who experiences doubt anymore. If you hear people say that, or even if you've said it, it's ego. It's trying to control self-image. We often think, if this is going on with you, that if we let people see a struggle or a part of us that we're not on board with, that it will somehow diminish us. It will somehow make us less capable, or, people will choose us less. They'll like us less. They'll love us less. They'll work with us less. We're very worried about being judged by others. And we really, really fear being vulnerable or admitting that, because if people know we have flaws, then maybe they won't love us. It's very human. It's a very human thing. But when we deny and hide and put on a facade, it gives the gap that you're experiencing, the problem, power. Whereas owning it gives you the power. Hiding it and pretending so it's not there, so you're not judged or seen as struggling or as imperfect, gives the problem power, and you stay in the struggle. You cannot solve the problem when you don't own there's a problem, when you're constantly trying to cover up the problem. Owning it gives you power, not the problem. And I want to say too, like a light example of this, because I don't want you to think of like, oh, I'm like fooling people and I'm being, I'm out of integrity and all these things. No, this is just human. And the perfect example I have for you is that when my boyfriend and I started dating, and we've been dating about 3 years now, it was like the first week, he really sold himself as this like hobby guy. He really likes hobbies. And he sold this, I always laugh with him about this now. He was selling me on this this idea where he's just someone who pairs up hobbies. So he always does hobbies together, where he really likes working out and he'll really pair that with cooking. So they kind of balance each other out. So he's really into one and then he's really into the other, and he just grows in both ways. He gave me another one where it was like he really wanted to learn piano. His next one, he was like, my next one I'm about to do is I'm going to learn piano and then DJ. And that'll just work together really well. And then he had a third one. I don't remember what it was. Now, being 3 years in to dating him, I'm like, you're not a hobby guy. He did not lie of like he really loves working out and cooking, but it's just he sold it up because it's who he wanted to be perceived as. And it was a very harmless, very innocent thing. He wasn't lying by any means, but he just was trying to basically sell up part of himself. And that's so human. It's so, so human. And now I can be like, your hobby, man, is not you're not gonna DJ, you're not gonna do piano. He actually did do DJing the other day, but still, you get my point. The lighthearted way that it happens, it's not a big deal. But I think if you find yourself trying to protect and operating out of self-protection, that's when you are now slowing yourself down. So check yourself. With this side, before we get into the other side of it, check yourself. Where am I trying to prove myself as something rather than just becoming that thing? Where have I prefaced things such as I'm already confident? Where am I doing that in my life? Where am I worried about being judged and therefore trying to control perceptions rather than feeling safe being myself? And how can I feel more powerful just owning where I'm at than trying to cover it all up? That's what I'd want you to sit with on that one. The other side of it all is that with ego, we want to have fantastic self-image through ego. But what can happen when in balance is that we set really high expectations for ourselves and then use them against ourselves, or we'll compare to others, or we have this need to try and be perfect. If we're not perfect, we feel like we're not enough, which then puts us into shame. So ego can therefore cause shame and self-criticism. And what happens is that we over-identify with it. When we over-identify with shame and self-criticism, we'll feel not enough. So if you're familiar with feeling not enough, this is the other side going on. Shame and self-criticism are in direct opposition to confidence as well. You are not able to truly master confidence while upholding shame and self-criticism. In my community and group program Unlimited, that whole program it's a space where you master confidence. It is you learning the psychology, the science, the actionable strategies to actually become unrecognizably confident and have your life, your bank account, your business, your body, your results reflect that confidence growth. Okay? And the first thing we really have to kind of like check is your shame. Because when you are in shame and when you're in self-criticism, you're not going to be able to build confidence like you want to. Check this is a perfect episode for this. Check your ego. Check your ego. Is your ego right now saying, I don't really struggle with self-criticism anymore? Nope, that's not me. Like I really want you to ask yourself that because from coaching hundreds of women and just my own journey, there is the more obvious self-criticism of looking in the mirror and being like, "Ugh, like, I look so disgusting. Like, I do not look good." There's the more obvious self-criticism of, like, "No one's gonna like you," or "That was stupid for you to say that," and things of that nature. But there's also subtle self-critical thoughts that are really hard to detect because you've normalized them so much. So they come kind of in the forms of, yes, comparing yourself, which you're probably familiar with, downplaying your achievements, minimizing, your own needs, dismissing compliments is a big one, assuming the worst, perfectionism disguised as like high standards. Like the downplaying your achievements might be like, anyone could do this. It's not a big deal. When it actually probably is a big deal to you. Or if you're, dismissing compliments of like, no, they're just being nice. No, no, no. Like, no, I'm not. Like, whatever, whatever that compliment is. Or assuming like I'm probably just gonna mess this up anyway. It doesn't matter. Another thing is like I should be doing more. That is a very perfectionism fueled statement that people often think is high standards. Or self-doubt will be like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Or when comparing yourself to others, you might not even be having the self-critical thoughts, but I know something that clients will do is they'll go to people's pages on Instagram or on social media and spend a lot of time there. And they think they're admiring that person, but then they subtly walk away. And later in the day, they just won't feel as good about themselves. And they'll feel like they're not as far as they should be and all of this. And it's because you were actually comparing that whole time. So those are very subtle ways that are undermining your confidence that are coming very likely from a place of self-criticism. And so this is kind of the other way that ego comes up and is through shame, is through self-criticism, where you almost turn on yourself. I find for me, if ego's coming up, this is far more likely how it's going to come up for me. Both will slow you down, whether you're trying to prove yourself and put on the facade or whether you're really kind of like turning on yourself and being self-critical. So this is really how it comes up. I find for me, my ego will come up via this kind of shame, where some people will come up through the trying to prove themselves. But I think that just honestly depends on the personality and season that you're in. But with shame, I think it's just you're over identifying it. When what we want to do is own that we're incredible as we are. We're enough as we are. You're beautiful and talented and capable and powerful as you are, even with struggles. So with this side, I want you to ask yourself, where am I over identifying with shame and treating it as truth? Where am I subtly critiquing myself and not catching it because I've normalized it? What are my loud ways of self-criticism? What are all the ways in which I'm feeling not enough, but is really just using high standards against myself? Those are the questions that I want you to sit with here. Because again, when we're operating from these states, we are not growing as much as we could be because when you're confident, you end up significantly more successful. And it's so funny. I was just in Charlotte with my boyfriend's family and I was talking to his mom and she was even saying she worked in banking and she was saying that, yeah, the people who succeeded most in corporate were not the smartest. It was never the smartest people. It was the people who spoke up. It was the people who had conviction behind what they said. It was the people who were charismatic. It was just the confident people. It's the same everywhere. But when your ego is blocking you and you're trying to constantly manipulate and make sure you're being perceived a certain way and acting out of self-protection, or you have a lot of shame because you don't think you're good enough and then you turn on yourself, you are not operating from as confident the level of confidence that you could. You're not. That also means you're not as successful as you already have ability to be. And don't hear this and get into shame and be like, I suck and I'm not good enough and I'm never going to get there. No. No. That's the thing where I'm saying of like ego is having you spend time critiquing yourself, or ego is having you spend time trying to bolster your self-image through facades and whatever, rather than just doing the work. You could very much join, for example, any of my programs and have your confidence completely recalibrated within the next 3 to 4 weeks and then be making more than ever before. That's what happens with so many of my clients, is that they start to learn the science, the strategies, the coaching needed to, to live up to their potential, to become the person who they learn how to master magnetism and become the self-made breadwinner. They start to transform how they show up for everything in their lives because they learn how to shift how they see themselves and feel about themselves. And then they end up in this constant growth mode where they just have things happen really fast because they've rewired their confidence. Don't tell yourself that, okay, I'm operating from ego, or okay, I'm operating from shame and like I'm not going to get there now. No, come join a program, come do the work, and you're going to see that results come really, really fast. All right. So if you would like to join Unlimited, it is now a rolling program. It is my community and for the women who really want to grow into their next level self, living up to their potential, who want the body, the business, the bank account, the relationships, the life to reflect their confidence growth. And we have a community that honestly, we just call you up, we hold you accountable, we help you build that kind of confidence, the relentlessness, and the mentality to have complete pride in who you are and what you've created for yourself. It is business, it is life, it is confidence. It's a program where you up level all around, and your body, your business, your bank account are the byproducts of that growth. They all get better. My clients lose weight, they get fitter, they've been to the gym more in Unlimited than ever in their lives. Their bank accounts grow, they pay off their debt, they have more savings than they've ever had in their lives. They make more sales. A lot of them have 3x what they make in a year since joining. And your businesses just take off because you're no longer trying to, worry about what people think of you or if you're going to sign or if you're going to sell, and you just move with confidence. Okay. So Unlimited is now a rolling program. You can come and join for 6 or 12 months whenever. It could literally be tomorrow. And I also have Audacious, which is more about you learning the foundations to make confidence a strength. And it's neuroscience, it's manifestation in there. It's the tried and true process that I've used to go from someone very insecure to who I am today. And it's very self-led. So if you're more into a self-led program, that's where you go. Audacious Unlimited is where you have a community, courses, you get Audacious in there as well, daily coaching with me. And then if you haven't yet, you can also hop into my free mini course called Becoming Relentless. And all of this is in the show notes. Becoming Relentless, where we help you identify the resistance that is blocking you from hitting your biggest goals and having the growth that you're really wanting. And people are obsessed with it. There's a community for it. There's a workbook that you get that people said has just literally taken them into outer space and back, as I think one of the clients said. So snag those, hop in my programs, and let's get you confident as hell, okay? I'll catch you in the next episode.